You can see there Israelis turning out in the masses. This is one of the darkest days in Israel's history, burying a 9-month-old baby, Ariel, the 4-year-old brother. We think now that we're looking at the funeral procession. The coffins of baby Kafir and Ariel and Sharri are now going through the streets on their way to the funeral at their kibbutz, their home, where they were kidnapped from their beds in their pajamas, a 9-month-old baby, murdered by Palestinian terrorists a month later when he was just 10 months old. His 4-year-old brother, too. Kafir never got to his first birthday. He never made it to his first birthday. And now today, Israel is out showing solidarity with the trauma and devastation of this family, and the whole world is watching. Every rational, good-hearted person in the world. Our hearts are with the Bibas family right now. They're with Yarden, father and husband, who is right now about to have the worst moment in his life, burying his wife and his 2 little baby boys. Absolutely senseless, horrible, cruel murder. There's no reason for it. And you think about how their kidnapping was celebrated by Palestinians, civilians and Hamas supporters in Gaza. This is the procession. We're seeing that now, that tens of thousands of Israelis have come out to pay their respects. And right now, this is Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. A lot of people gathered around the screens because while the funeral is private, it will be broadcast live. It will be in Hebrew. I'm hearing that it is running late at this point in time, and we just saw their live pictures of the cars as they make their way through the city. Okay, we're going to come back to this, but let's bring in now for some reaction, and we'll keep those live pictures on the screen. Let's bring in now Liberal National Senator James McGrath. James, what's your reaction to this, what we're seeing right now? Israel out in force, burying a baby, a child, a loving mother. James McGrath.
Burying a mum and 2 children who were murdered. All of Israel, but all of us who believe in a civilised society are just so down and so sad at the moment because the Bibas family represent the hatred that has been visited upon Israel by Hamas and all the other terrorist groups and terrorist states who want to destroy that country and the civilisations that lie within Israel. And that's why Australia must stand with Israel, and that's why Australians must stand with the Bibas family, and that's why we must bring them all home, because there are still hostages being held by Hamas. And this is what I think some Australians have forgotten about, is that there are still people being held by this terrorist organisation. So it is a very, very sad day. But also, Sharri, it's why we must make a stand against anti-Semitism. This is why Australians must come together and shout at those people who allow anti-Semitism to grow.
And you just think about the support that this movement, James, has had in the West, on university campuses, at international institutions, United Nations, the push even by our own foreign minister to recognise Palestinian statehood at the United Nations, despite the fact Hamas that did this to baby Kafir and Ariel and Sharri, despite the fact they are still the governing body in Gaza. And you just wonder where all sense, reason, rationality and morality has gone in the world. What do you think about this?
It has left the building in a way, because you have politicians in Australia and you have political parties in Australia, and I am going to call out the Greens political party, who are, in my view, a racist and anti-Semitic party, a party who support the BDS movement, a party who refuse to support the definition of anti-Semitism as written and as agreed by over 30 countries, including Australia, a bipartisan approach to the definition of anti-Semitism. The Greens are the only party in Australia have refused to accept that definition of anti-Semitism. So it's my job, and it's your job, and it's everybody watching this program, and everybody who goes onto my social media channels and looks at when we call out the Greens and we call out these people who attack Israel and attack a fellow liberal democracy and fail to attack Hamas and fail to call for the return of all hostages.
Indeed, and you know, we often hear from the likes of certainly the Greens, but even from Albanese government ministers, you hear more often criticism of Israel than you do the demand for the hostages to be returned. I mean, how often has any Albanese government minister spoken about the Bibas family? Now, just to update you on what's going on at the moment, the procession is heading towards southern Israel to Kibbutz Nir Oz. It's on its way. It is running late. The eulogies were meant to begin at 11:30 in the morning Israel time, which is 8:30 p.m. our time, but it is running late. I can also tell you the Knesset, that's the Israeli parliament, has just held a minute's silence for the Bibas family. Masses, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Israelis have turned out to pay their respects. The footage you're looking at now live is from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. You might be able to hear the music as well, where Israelis are waiting for the start of this funeral, because this family, the Bibas family, has captured the hearts of all Israelis and many of us around the world as well. All we wanted to see, all we were praying for, is to see the safe return of baby Kafir and baby Ariel and their mother, Sharri. And James, for me, the images of, and as a mother myself, the images of Sharri as she tried to hold and protect her children. She held them close to her chest, baby Kafir and Ariel, as she was being shuffled and pulled around by terrorists, by Palestinian terrorists and civilians who kidnapped her, and she was just in the greatest of distress trying to protect her babies. And you just can't bear. We now know, just in the past few days, we've learned just how brutal and violent their murders were, that they were murdered by bare hands. That is what Yarden has given permission for the world to know, that they were murdered violently by bare hands. And it doesn't get worse than this, James. And now here we are, about to watch their funeral, about to watch these beautiful children be laid to rest.
It doesn't get worse than seeing two young children who have been murdered. But this is why sometimes in politics and in life, there is a moral clarity. There is a difference between light and darkness. And what happened on Israel on the 7th of October was the darkest of days, but it is a wake-up call to all of us to make sure that we must defend our fellow citizens, our fellow Jewish citizens in Australia, and understand that there is a choice to be made between lightness and dark, between this coming election, and I don't want to politicise what's going on in Israel at the moment, but in Australia there is a fight over the moral clarity of the future direction of this country. The weak leadership of Anthony Albanese, who has allowed anti-Semitism to become such a serious security issue in this country, or someone like Peter Dutton, who will strengthen our resolve and stand up for Jewish Australians.
Yeah,
and
the contrast couldn't be greater. James McGrath, thank you very much for your time.